Hello and welcome. My name is Space Muffin, and this is the Void Gaming. We're coming at you with another Warcraft Rumble video. And today we're going to talk about the 5 families. We're going to kind of do a deep dive into each family and kind of what synergies you guys can be building and what you can be doing with these synergies, basically. Okay? So, for those of you who do not know, there are 5 families in Warcraft Rumble. Okay, 5 playable families at this time. Okay, so there is Alliance. Okay, there's Horde, there's Beast, and there's Undead, and then there's Blackrock. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start with the Alliance. Okay, Jaina, you'll notice Jaina is an Alliance unit. So Alliance units, you have a lot of, you have healing, you have very good range control type units, and you have units that, essentially work really well in a lot of situations, okay? So, let's talk here about some of these units here, okay? So, the Alliance leaders, that's what we're going to start off first. There's Jaina, okay? So, Jaina essentially is a mage. She's kind of a range unit, a single target. She's kind of squishy. She's really not that amazing as a leader. She's really hard to play, but what's nice about Jaina is the fact that she costs 3. Most of these hero units cost a lot more, right? So what's her ability? Increase the level of your spells by 3 while Jaina's in play. So if you're doing a heavy spell deck, right, then Jaina might be the leader for you. Okay, so these are spell units. So something like Blizzard is a spell unit. Holy Nova is also a spell unit. Okay, so let's talk about the synergy here and kind of how I would, how I would build a Jaina deck. Okay, Jaina is very squishy, so you need tanks. You need someone to take the damage for Jaina while she can sit in the background and deal lots of damage. So this unit here, this is the Footmen. They're very simple, very basic tanks. You summon 4 of them. And what I like about the Footmen that's really good is the fact that they can kind of spread your enemies thin, if that makes any sense. You'll notice that like 3 of them are kind of, and they can go off in different directions and things like that. So and then we also have here the Mountaineer. I like the Mountaineer because, it can deal with melee units and range unit, and it heals. It has a kind of a little mini tank with it. These are both very high cost units, okay? So my strategy with Jaina specifically is to kind of cycle, Griffin Rider and Safe Pilot, basically. And then get Jaina out, and then, kind of deal lots of damage to their enemies. Like I said, they get +3 spell levels, right? So, in PvP, this is very useful because, you're going to be able to hit their towers, harder. You're going to be able to hit their units a lot harder. Having said that, if you're starting off with Alliance, I actually do not recommend Jaina. She is incredibly difficult. There is Meve. Okay, now I don't have Meve unlocked, but Meve is a very good unit. I've played a lot of Meve in Arclight Surge, so I kind of have an understanding of how this unit works. But basically, melee unit stealth, and what I like about Meve is you can really kind of get into the nitty gritty because it's also an unbound unit. And for those of you who do not know what unbound means. So Safe Pilot, you'll notice here, let's go to info, and you'll go to attributes. Unbound means that they can be placed anywhere on the map. So units that are not unbound essentially can only be placed at a tower or a Hearthstone. Okay, so but if you're going to play Alliance, I recommend everybody start off with Tyrion. Tyrion is a very good unit. I mean, he is very good, as mentioned before, because he heals people, right? So, he is incredibly overpowered. He's incredibly good. He's an incredible first unit. In fact, if I could only pick one, hero, currently, it would be Tyrion. He's great in PvP. He's amazing in PvE. He has such a good toolbox. You can build him so many ways. So, for example, okay, if I'm going to build a Tyrion, similar, I want to have a lot of anti-range because he's not really a rage unit. I want to have units that I can cycle, such as Defias Bandits, right? And then I want to have a tanky unit. But here's what's cool about Tyrion, right? So let's swap him out. You can put this guy in. This guy's really good too, the Molten Giant, because you plop the Molten Giant out for 6, you plop Tyrion out for 4, and he just pummels people because he's healing the Molten Giant, right? And then when you want to, you have like your board control essentially. That's basically going to, kind of damage, like AoE units, right? So like, Holy Nova, it damages the opponents, but then it heals your units. Incredibly useful, right? And then, of course, we have our Safe Pilot, which is good for clearing out, a lot of units, and then it has its ranged ability. So, there's so much you can do with Tyrion. It's kind of ridiculous, actually, at this point. There's so many different types of builds you can do with him. You can kind of mix and match your Horde units and your Alliance units. So, Tyrion, really good. The Alliance faction is really like versatile. So, for example, you have a lot of, like I said, undead units with stealth, right? So, the Worgen's really great. You have, obviously, let's go down here and let's check out some more units. You have, I think I have like all the Alliance units. I could be wrong though. Oh no, I don't have this one. So Arcane Blast is pretty decent. Each extra tap, increases gold cost by 1 and then doubles the elemental damage. It's good, It's like a good spell, if you're running it in a Jaina deck. But, I think there's better spells out there, personally. But as far as Alliance units go, you'll notice I have a lot of Alliance units, and they synergize well with other factions. Alliance and Beast synergize well. So, for example, you have Prowler, and it kind of runs up on people. You know what I mean? It's a fast melee tank. It doesn't really cost much. And so then you can maybe swap out certain tank units with other factions. A really, really good unit is Huntress. Really good unit. What I like about Huntress is she is anti-air, and she can just take out your anti-air units. If you see a bunch of, like, someone's doing like a swarm deck, she can take them out pretty quickly. Okay. So moving on to Blackrock. Blackrock is really good. Okay, so as aforementioned before, you have Molten Giant, really great tank, but you also have stuff like Smoke Bomb, right? And this is good. Like, this synergizes so well. Let's say you have like a siege unit that will only attack towers. You can, as demonstrated here, you can stealth your siege unit for a little bit, or any other unit, really, right? Another good unit is Core Hounds. Okay, now this is what's so great about these guys is they're basically like a pair. You get 2 tanks, right? So it's similar to Footmen in the sense that you get multiple units for 1 drop, but you have resistance, and they can revive each other. Like, so in other words, if they just got done with battle and one of them is still alive, they will revive the other one. It's incredibly useful. What else does Blackrock have? That's basically kind of it. The Blackrock heroes, in my opinion, are hit or miss. So, for example, you have I forgot how to pronounce it. It's Dekasoth, and I mean, he's good in the sense that nearby enemies take 50% more elemental damage. So this synergizes well with something like this Horde unit, Chain Lightning, which deals elemental damage, right? It synergizes well with this Undead unit that also deals elemental damage. It synergizes. So, I mean, he's good. I think there's better options. So let's talk about our better options here. Rend Blackhand is another amazing unit. What I like about Rend Blackhand is he starts off as a flying unit and then transitions into a melee unit. Your other flying troops. Okay, so yeah, while he's in play, your flying units will cost a little bit less, and this synergizes well with every flying unit, right? There's so much versatility with the Black Rock faction, if that makes any sense. So, yeah, I believe there's only 2 Black Rock leaders at this moment. But, yeah, BlackRock is, like I said, it's very versatile, especially, you know, the fact that BlackRock units can run really well in other families really well, other decks, other builds. You know, you have Earth Elemental, really great. The fact that it, like, just kind of, like, it doesn't even engage in combat. It just runs and straight for the tower and the bosses, and it deals siege damage. So, by the way, units that deal siege damage, it basically, like, you get double damage to towers, and that is incredibly useful. Let's look at another unit here. You have the Whelp Eggs. Okay, these ones, you can place them anywhere, and, you know, other units will attack them, and it'll spawn these flying units. So, those are good for, like, distracting your opponents, you know, and things like that. Dark Iron Miner is really good. You know, if you have a resource-heavy deck, you can plop him unbound, and just he'll start mining. You know, and then he's got, of course, his talents and things like that. Here's another good one. So you have the Drake. Okay, the Drake is once again good at taking out a lot of swarm flying units, similar to the Huntress, but, you know, in my opinion, it's a little bit more squishy. Not quite as fast as the Huntress, but, you know, costs 1 less. So you got to kind of figure out what's going to work in your playstyle, if that makes any sense. Okay. What else do we have for BlackRock? So this guy's really good. The Flamewalker is incredibly good. He's kind of the same. He can deal with swarm units on the ground as well. And, you know, he has, you know, quite a bit of versatility, you know. He's got decent range. Living Bomb, I personally do not really like this unit that much, but it's an option for those of you who do want to run a more spell, you know, control heavy deck. I personally think there's just better options. And then we haven't really gone over. Yeah, Pyromancer. Pyromancer's pretty decent. You know, it's a nice little 3-drop, you know, that you know, deals good range damage. So that's BlackRock. Moving on to Beast. Okay, so Beast have 3 leaders. They have we have Old Murkai. We have the Hogger. And then we have this dude. I forgot what his name is, but they basically heal. Hogger's pretty good as a Beast unit. Beast, once again, they synergize so well with everybody else. I'll give you an example here in a little bit. So we kind of went over the Prowler, but it just goes so good in so many decks, right? It's fast. It's a tank. You know, you can control lanes very quickly with things like that. The Murloc Tidehunters, really great for, you know, kind of getting rid of, you know, it's a really good support unit that kind of gets rid of, like, ranged units. And then, of course, you have the Angry Chickens. Angry Chickens are kind of a nice little swarm unit that can overwhelm your opponents. If there's like a single target tank, like a melee tank, these will do really good. They're really great at just kind of, you know, putting distractions out there. They're very squishy, though. They're very, you know, easy to kill, right? Gnome Brute. Okay, so this is kind of a good counter to something like, you know, swarm units, because the fact that the Gnoll Brute, you know, hits, like, you know, multiple people. So when you see AoE, that means area of effect, and that means that they essentially will hit multiple units at once versus, say, the single target units. Okay, so let's go look at some more beast units real quick. Vultures, they're good, you know. They're decent. You know, they can swarm pretty you know, they can swarm pretty good, you know. And so, you know, is it going to work in your deck? That's the question, right? Raptors are also incredibly decent. The fact that you can... What I like about the Raptors is they take up 1 slot, but, you know, each tap you increase the gold and you can deploy an additional Raptor. So, Raptors can be very useful. They can be very good in a variety of decks. Spiderlings are good. They poison people. They poison your enemies. Pretty decent, honestly. You know, and what else for beasts? You have the Harpies here. Harpies are really great at just annoying the ever-living heck out of melee units, right? You know, they have pretty decent talents, right? So the Harpies can be very, very annoying for your enemies. So that's kind of the beast. How I would build beast. Okay, so let's go take a peek at Old Murkai real quick. Like I said, beasts do really well. You'll notice that I don't have a single beast unit in this deck right here, but like I said, they synergize incredibly well, right? So, okay, so let's look at Old Murkai, right? So when you summon Old Murkai, you get a bunch of Tide Hunters, right? So this is incredibly overpowered when you combine it with something like Molten Giant. So what you would do is you'd place Old Murkai down. You know, you'd wait till you have 10 mana or 10 gold, basically. And then you would plop down the Molten Giant and you'd get 6 more of the Tide Hunters. And that would, you know, kind of swarm your enemies. So kind of my strategy here is control the board with Necromancer and things like Chain Lightning and Blizzard. And then we would, you know, essentially, you know, do our kind of big hit with Old Murkai and Molten Giant. Now, you can also, let's say you're in a pinch and you need, you just need units now or whatever. You can still use Old Murkai with, you know, Necromancer or any of these other units, and then you can still get, you know, get some Murlocs out to deal with, you know, like ranged units and things like that. So it's very versatile. I think that Old Murkai is the best of the beast units. I mean, I take that back, actually. Sorry, beast leaders. Hogger is incredibly good, so there's that. Okay, so the next faction that we're going to go over is the Horde. Horde is very good, and Horde synergizes very well with itself. Okay, so let's take a look at Sneed. Lead with Greed. So gain 2 additional gold when Sneed triggers Sneed Before Greed. Okay, so Sneed Before Greed triggers... Okay, that's his talent that I have chosen. And then his leader ability is Sneed Before Greed. Gain 2 gold when a siege damage unit destroys a tower, captures a meeting stone, or opens a chest. Okay. This synergizes so well with other Horde units. So, like you have, for example, Goblin Snappers. These guys run up and bang. Now you get 2 gold. Then you get to summon, like, a Wind Rider, right? And then, you know, she might open up a chest or she might destroy a unit. Boom, you get 2 more gold. So, it, like, Horde is really good. Like I said, it synergizes with itself. You can make an entire Horde deck. So, the Horde leaders are Sneed. You have Hellscream here. Hellscream's ability is all nearby friendly units gain Bloodlust. Incredibly good. And then, of course, we have Bloodhoof here, which he's pretty good. Your Horde troops have 20% health increase, so there's a lot of synergy that you can do here. So, no, there's so much you can do. So let's go over the Horde units real quick. Okay. Obviously, we went over the 3 leaders. You have Chain Lightning, incredibly good, incredibly versatile spell. Cost 2, deals with swarm squads really fast, okay? And the talent that I have for it is Reverberation. So it can be cast a second time. Incredibly good. Brilliant Flash is pretty decent too, you know, but Storm, they're all good, but I think Reverberation is the best talent for Chain Lightning. Execution's really great. Cuts your enemy's health in half. So it's just really good. This will, you know, does really good at like stopping like big tanky units, and you know that will kind of allow you to do that. Once again, you know, it synergizes really well because let's say you're having some trouble, you can deploy, you know, one of the Torns, and you know they deal insane damage, and then they can like the Stonehoof Torns, they deal really great damage, and then they have the charge ability. So you can kind of combo that with, say, Chain Lightning, or you can finish them off with Chain Lightning, or whatever you want to do. Darkspear Trolls are not, in my opinion, that great. I think there are better units out there that do the same thing. They're okay, you know. You know, that they, in my opinion, I wouldn't invest in this unit. I'll put it that way. Frostwolf Shamans are really good because, once again, they synergize with really a lot of stuff. But as you can see in kind of the example here, they're healing your grunts. So they work really great as support units to kind of get them past that, you know, those situations with flying units. What I also like about the Wolf Shaman, the Frostwolf Shaman, is the fact that you can also heal your, you know, you can heal your other units. So it's very versatile. Once again, synergizes incredibly well. So let's talk about the grunts real quick. Actually, before we talk about the grunts, actually no, let's talk about the grunts. So the grunts are really good. They are incredibly good because they're tanky, they're versatile. What I like about them is the fact that you can, if you look at the talents here, you can put them on guard duty. So you can have them remain at a location and then have them essentially attack units, you know, when they you know, come by whatever it is that they're guarding, whether it be a Hearthstone or a you know, or a tower. So, I mean, it honestly, the grunts might be a little underrated, right? Because you can, like, let's say you have the ability guard duty, which we just kind of talked about. You can deploy them. You can deploy a bunch of them at a single location, and then just when you know, and then you know you're dealing with your other units, other situations. They'll just deploy, right? Now, the other thing is the Blood Pact, okay? So when a grunt dies, the other gains Bloodlust. Pretty decent. Nearby allies deal 30% additional damage. So that can synergize with beast decks really well. So nearby beast allies, yeah, gain 30%. That's really good, dude. Like, these guys are pretty good, actually. Okay, now let's look at the last unit here, the Bat Rider. Bat Rider's pretty good. Deals with more tanky ground units pretty well. What I like about it is the fact that, you know, they start burning. You know, they start, you know, with the fire basically. AOE pretty decent. Pretty good talents here. Not the best, but pretty good. You know, Flaming Pinch, Flaming Pool reduces enemy speed by 30%. That's pretty decent. You know, and as you can see here, there's the other talent. So you got to figure out what works with your army, right? So last but certainly not least is the Undead. Now, Undead, you have Sylvanas Windrunner, you have Baron Rivendell, and you have Blood Mage Thalanos. Each one is good in their own right. Each one does really good. So Undead units are pretty versatile. They're fun, you know. So let's take a look. Let's look at Sylvanas first. Okay. Sylvanas is decent. She's pretty powerful, but she costs a lot. Okay. Cost 6. And her ability is Windrunner Warchief. All undead and horde minis gain 30% movement speed when near Sylvanas. So this is incredibly synergistic, right? Like I said, let's say you have a more tankier unit like this that isn't really the fastest. If it's around Sylvanas, it will move 30% faster. Incredibly good. Same with it synergizes well with the ghouls. But anyways, going back to Sylvanas, she's pretty good, has pretty decent talents. Pretty good unit. And with Sylvanas, I'm probably going to run a lot of horde units and undead units because of that 30% movement speed. Okay, so let's go with Baron Rivendell. Baron Rivendell is right up there with Tyrion Forward Ring. Baron Rivendell is an incredibly powerful unit. Number 1, it costs 4. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, it summons skeletons near buildings you control, which doesn't sound like a lot because skeletons are really kind of squishy units, but it adds up so quickly. They grab chests. They're so good at kind of controlling the lanes, right? Now, the other thing that's really great about Baron Rivendell is the fact that it is incredibly fast. Very fast unit. So you can roll up on people fast. You can change the tide of battle very fast. Traits are really great. I'm using Chill of the Grave, which summons the mages instead, because I have a hard time with ranged units. So I want to have that there. I want to have what's nice about the skeletons is that they slow down you kind of bigger units. So Baron Rivendell will be able to get to those slowed units a little bit faster. So and then we have Blood Mage Thalanos. Very good. Ability is it gains 1 level for every spell that you've played until it dies. Better than Jaina, in my opinion, but there are some downsides. If you have people that, that can kill him very easily, you have to kind of protect him pretty quickly. So there's kind of that. How I build Undead, much like Alliance and Horde, they synergize with themselves pretty good. There's kind of some staple, units that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But so let's go over each unit. Okay. Gargoyle, incredible siege unit. Probably, in my opinion, one of the best siege units in the game. Okay. So if you don't have, let's say you're building Alliance and you don't, or Forward Ring, and you don't have this guy and you want something a little bit cheaper, the Gargoyle would be an incredible replacement for that. Okay, so the Gargoyle is incredibly good because it just ignores everything, much like the Earth Elemental, but you have the advantage of flying, right? So it doesn't have to deal with those pesky ground units, right? Incredibly good unit. Cost 4, decent talents. You can increase its movement speed. Really good. You can summon a statue with taunt. Also, pretty decent for distracting opponents. And then incoming, this is aerial superiority. So it's got so much that it can do. Really great unit. Let's talk about the Meat Wagon real quick. I think the Meat Wagon is not as good as the Gargoyle, but the Meat Wagon does have some advantages. The fact that it can hit things from almost like a sniper. So this would be really synergistic with a more tanky unit, such as your Abomination. Synergizes really well that way. Synergizes really well if you're doing... there's so much you can do with it. For example, you could put a bunch of ghouls in front of it, and you can, people have to get through whatever it is that's in front of the meat wagons before they touch the meat wagon. So, it's a decent unit, not amazing. Let's talk about the Skeleton Party. Skeleton Party is okay. Some people are going to tell you that this is an S tier unit. I'm going to disagree simply because of the cost. It is incredibly versatile in the sense that if your deck needs an unbound unit that, also is going to kind of assault either the towers or, kind of, hitting chests and things like that, it's pretty good. I don't think it's an S tier unit. It's decent. It's situational. It has unbound, pretty good abilities, but it just costs too much for kind of what it does. In my opinion, there's better units, which we're going to talk about here in a second. Plague Farmer is okay, not amazing. If you're running like some type of poison type situation, it's pretty good. It's got okay abilities. Not really a unit that, in my opinion, you should invest in. Like I said, it's situational. I'm kind of like, when I am talking about this tier system, which we're gonna kind of go over maybe in another video. Honestly, it's like terrible units can sometimes work like in good decks, right? So it just depends on your play style and then also the type of deck that you're trying to go for. But in my opinion, it's not worth investing in. A unit that is worth investing in, though, is skeletons. In my opinion, this is an S tier. This is an S tier unit. Or at least a high A tier. Let me explain why. Okay? Number one, you can distract units. You can distract units. I give it the taunt, which, makes it to where the other units have to attack it. And you get that split second to, do what you need to do. Okay? So it's unbound. You can plop this on top of mines. You can plop this on top of chests. Let's say you have a tanky unit that's dealing with the tower. You can plop these in a tower to get a little bit more damage off, right? These things are just so versatile that they're just so versatile. I mean, it's incredible, what they do. So, okay, so let's talk about the Banshee. Banshee is not amazing. The Banshee is incredibly specific. It is very specific. I like the Banshee for what it does. It's decent, right? So it synergizes well. If you were running there's a whole deck based around Banshee where you just basically gain control of people's units. I like to run it. I like Banshee. Not everybody's going to agree with me that Banshee is great. But another synergy you can do with Banshee is you can actually run Smoke Bomb with it. And that will, and then you can, gain control of their super, powerful units. So, Banshee's pretty decent. Not really a great unit. An amazing unit. Necromancer. Only costs 4. He can kind of act as a quasi-tank, but also deals incredible damage. Pretty much every undead deck, and even a lot of not undead decks, I'm going to run him in. He just does too much. It's too much value for one unit, right? He can pop into 5 skeletons. He can summon, mages, He's just an all-around amazing unit. Really great for lane control. Really great. So, let's talk about I don't know if we talked about the Ghoul yet. The Ghoul is incredible. Not S tier, maybe not even A tier, but it costs 2... and he heals himself, so he can be really annoying. Pretty decent unit. The Ghoul is the undead version of the footmen or the grunts, right? In the sense that they're pretty good single target tanks, right? Speaking of tanks, Abomination, probably a C tier unit. Depending on how you use this unit. It's not very diverse. You have to know how to use this unit. Having said that, Noxious Presence is pretty decent. Really great with dealing, with crowd control. So you have some, decent... really, Noxious Presence is its only good talent, but you know, you have some decent synergies that you can do with your abomination. So there's kind of that. I think that's it for the undead units. So if you guys like this video, if you guys want to see more Warcraft Rumble, then leave a comment, you know. And then if you want to support us, go to thevoid.gg. We will see you in the next video. Thank you, guys.